beans, my name is Aqua and welcome back to another Minecraft video, and this is the first ever episode in my technical building series, and today we are going to be talking about texturing, as you can see by this lovely wall behind me. But first, what is this series? And if you're just here for the tips and tricks, feel free to skip to the next chapter of this video. So in this series, I'm basically going to be showing you guys some of the key elements of Minecraft building, some which you might have heard, the massive builders talking about, and might have wondered, oh, what's that? I'm going to tell you why they work, why they're important, and how you can then use them in your own building to make them 100 times better. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. Woo! So first of all, what is texturing? As you can see here, we have this exceedingly boring stone wall. It's very repetitive, it's very grey, there's not much going on. Then here you have this textured stone wall. There's a lot of variation and a lot more interest. Oh, I still have my elytra on. I will take that off in a second. This isn't the best example because stone is very plain. But if we move on over to this lovely spruce wall, it's quite nice. Spruce is one of the best woods in my opinion, but it's very repetitive. You can see here we have this stone plank, this spruce plank, not stone, that stone, this is spruce, get it right. This spruce plank, and then another spruce plank of exactly the same width, and then another, and then another, and then here, in exactly the middle, another. And then another, and it's just extremely repetitive. Now, in real life, I still forgot to take my elytra off. I will do that. Probably never, because I'm dumb. In real life, we don't really get that, because if you think about a floor of planks, the planks have different sizes, different widths, perhaps some of them are warped, some of them might have gaps in between. There's lots of variation and randomness in real life, and this is not carried through to Minecraft, and it's this variation and randomness which is what keeps your eye looking at something. It adds points of interest, and by adding points of interest, that's what makes your builds not feel dull. So if your builds are feeling dull, texturing is probably what you need. In comparison to this very dull spruce wall, we have this textured spruce wall over here, which, they're all very similar colours. You can tell that it's meant to be one flat thing, but it's got variation, it's got randomness. I probably didn't do it the best here because you have like those three in line and those three in line because I'm too much of a perfectionist. But blah blah blah. But yeah, you can see that you want to keep looking at this because it's got the variation and randomness and interesting. It's got the variation and randomness and variety which you see in real life, and that's what makes it interesting. Now this is all good and well, but you're probably wondering, well, okay, Aqua, you've told me why texturing is important, but how do I do it? There's no point telling me that I should do something if I have no idea how to do it. So that's what this nice sandiness here is for. As you can see in here, there are 4 different blocks. Our main block here is smooth sandstone. I am going to be texturing this wall for you guys so you can see what the process of texturing is like, and then you can try putting it into your own builds. In fact, sandstone is one of the easiest things to texture since it has the least amount of things that you can do. With that stone wall back there, I textured in about maybe 9 different blocks, whereas here, there's only about 4 that you can do. Regular sandstone, cut sandstone, and sand. Sand is the best thing to texture in with smooth sandstone. As you can see, I've just taken this wall here and I'm just placing in blocks where I think it's appropriate, where I think it looks balanced, looking for the spaces where there perhaps isn't enough blocks or there isn't enough texturing. No, to make it balanced. And that is also incredibly important. You don't want to have tons of texturing on this side and then no texturing on this side. That's going to make your wall look odd. So yeah, this is pretty much done. This was a very simple texturing job. Usually you would add in a lot more variety like here, but I think this is good enough for now. And usually with sandstone you're building townhouses and that sort of thing, which don't need much texturing anyway, since you have these big windows, and we'll get onto when to texture more and when to texture less later in the video. So stick around for that. Now here I have gone and put together a few of my favourite texturing combos for basically every block that I could think of, which you can easily implement into your own builds if you can't think of any. But really the best thing to do is look through to the creative inventory and get creative. Find blocks which you think have similar colour schemes, try mixing them together and see if it works, because that's how you are going to develop as a builder, by having your own style and your own niche. This is the stone kind of mixture. As you can see, my base block is stone, and this is basically the same as I did down there. Few interesting things. I tried using some of the 1.17 blocks, like Tough, I think it's called. Yeah, works really well in this. Also andesite, gravel, and the coral blocks. Gravel and coral both have this slight pinkish tinge, and so they work very well, especially in like paths and stuff. Here we have the slightly darker grey blocks, so the deep slate. My current favourite block is this tiled deep slate, and then lots and lots of different grey blocks. I've also used basalt, and the coal ore for deep slate also works very well, and netherite. You know, this is good for if you're in creative. I'm not expecting you to go out. Wait, where did my elytra go? No, this is an abomination. I need to put my elytra back on. Okay, that's better. Now, back to what I was saying. I'm not expecting you to go out and farm loads of netherite blocks just to texture in your builds. It's going a bit too far. I mean, I'm sure somebody somewhere has done it. People have made full netherite beacons and stuff, but you know, that's mad. That's mad. I would suggest, yeah, only use this in creative, please. Else. Oh no, I broke it. No, rush. Disaster. Okay. Phew. The world is at rest. Everything is good. Our netherite is back in place. And next we have the even darker grey to black blocks. Black, yeah, it's black stone. Of course it's black. Why did I say dark grey? Here we mainly have the black stone variants. So we have the normal black stone, the cobbled black stone. Did I not put that in? Or no, is that cobbled black stone? No, that's... Wait, I'm so confused. Yeah, and then here we also have a coal block, obsidian, and black concrete powder, which I love using concrete powders in texturing. I think because they are very textureful blocks, and because there are so many colours, they all work very well. So you can see later on I've used quite a few concrete powders in like the coloured woods and that sort of thing. Moving on to the white blocks. Some people are going to kill me for using diorite. I know, but it's polished diorite, and polished diorite is actually quite a nice block. Okay, I said it. You can all scream at me in the comments now. I know, I've just made very many people angry. Along with the birch wood, I really like this. The black might be a bit too standy outy, but again, it's all your style. Calcite, which is my main block here. I love calcite. It's very cool. Mojang, please can we have like all of the stone variants for calcite? That would be amazing. And then we also have iron blocks, wool, again the concrete powder. And moving on to sandstone, as you guys have seen earlier. Yeah, it's just the sandstone, the cut sandstone, the sand, and the smooth sandstone. I love sand with smooth sandstone. I think it works really well. So if you did want to just texture with smooth sandstone and sand for a less in-your-face look, that would also work incredibly well. And now we're on to the wood types. This is spruce. I basically never use spruce. It's not one of my favourite wood blocks. I don't really like it. So I had very few ideas for this one, but you know, you have the planks, and then you have the wood Oh yeah, key point. For these forward-facing logs, always use the stripped ones. If you don't, you'll get this really stark outline here, and it just won't look as good. So yeah, use the stripped logs for facing forwards and then facing sideways, and then the trapdoors sort of work. I'm not completely sold on that, but I needed more ideas for birch. Moving on to oak, I love the oak trapdoors being used because it also adds depth, especially if you bring them out a block by placing them in the block in front. Depth is a topic for a later video, so I won't go into that too much. And then again, you have the stripped wood and the forward-facing stripped logs. These basically work for every single wood type. You're going to see them in every wood type. I'm not going to go through them. And now we move on to spruce, which is where it starts to get interesting. Here you can see I have used a log type. However, if we use spruce logs look like that. That is a spruce log. So that's not going to work here. Here I've actually used oak logs, and it works incredibly well. This only really works for oak and dark oak, but if you use the log type below it almost, as you can see these three logs almost have a gradient, then it works incredibly well. And unfortunately it doesn't work for oak because the one below is birch, and birch has the white log type. But yeah, for spruce use oak logs, and then for dark oak use spruce logs, and also dark oak logs work well for dark oak too. I've also again used the trapdoors and the brown concrete powder, I think it is. This also sort of works. It's a bit too reddish, but again, experiment, see what you like, see what works well in your build. And here we move on to dark oak. The trapdoors work incredibly well for dark oak because they're solid, and also for spruce. You can really see what my favourite log types are, can't you? You can see that I use these two in pretty much all of my builds. They're just very fun to texture. I like these two. They're very cool. Now we move on to the coloured log types. This is acacia. I know loads of people hate acacia, but I really like it. Like, I would never use it as a log type. I would always use one of these four as like a log type. But as the more coloured woods, it works really well, especially with the dark blocks such as blackstone and deep slate. So here we've just got the trapdoors. Again, I love the look of these trapdoors. Again, you can come at me in the comments for liking acacia in the same way that you're going to come at me for liking diorite. It's okay. I can take it. I promise you I can take it. I promise. Hey, this is Editing Aqua, just to say I do not like diorite itself. It's incredibly ugly. Blech. But I do like polished diorite, and I do like all of the acacia variants. And then also the copper blocks work incredibly well here. Of course, you have to wax them because it doesn't go well with the acacia if you let it oxidize and then it becomes incredibly blue. Don't do what Scar did. Just wax it. Don't go over it with an axe every time. It's a pain. Just wax it. Make a bee farm. Find some, what's them called, the beehive thingies, and just wax it. Please. Please. Moving on to jungle wood. Enough of that madness. I actually had quite a lot of fun with this one. I didn't think that I was going to because I don't really like jungle wood. I don't really use it. However, I discovered this rooted dirt, whatever it's called, works incredibly well. The trapdoors, of course. The strip logs work less well than before, but they still work. And the granite, and I think this is a brown mushroom block, actually. But any block which is sort of brown with a slight pinkish tinge would work incredibly well here. And now moving on to the nether woods. This is crimson. Again, trapdoors, stripped, all of that stuff. I think this is purple concrete. Yeah, purple concrete, because I tried magenta and it didn't work. And then the hyphae works quite well as well. But if you're not using red in your builds or using a colour that clashes with red, I wouldn't advise that. And now moving on to the warped wood. I love the colour of this. it's basically my channel colour. I could just be warped bean. Yeah, I could be warped bean. This could be a thing. So yeah, basically I've got the stripped warped hyphae and the front-facing ones, and the trapdoors and the concrete powder and the cyan wool and the cyan concrete all work very well. In fact, this group here without the planks work very well together, but I've done all of these in planks, so I thought I should do this one in planks too. But yeah, sort of works. So yeah, that's pretty much it for combos, but as I said earlier, just try out, if there's any blocks that I haven't done here, leave me any suggestions in the comments, because you might have had awesome block combos that I haven't thought of yet. And yeah, just keep mixing blocks, keep being creative, and I'm sure you'll find an awesome combo which no one has ever found before. Here we have a room which I've fully kitted out in texturing with, of course, the dark oak and the spruce. You guys know me, I love them. They're my babies! My babies! However, it's too much. Earlier we were saying about how those walls back down there, they were too bland. There wasn't enough variation. Well, here there's too much variation. It's too much for your eye to take in, and it becomes overwhelming. And you do not want that. You want to look away from this. I want to look away from this. It's an abomination. I can't believe I ever built it. It's horrible. However, if you just texture one of them, for example, just texture the floor and leave the walls, that works quite well. Again, the walls do become a bit bland then, but there are things that you could do. With interior, it looks a bit better. Yeah, this works quite nicely. I've just built up a cute little bookshelf and a light hanging display thing here, and it works quite well. However, again, this wall does become a bit repetitive. So there are different wall types that you can use instead of texturing. For example, any of these walls which have like a outside, they work very well. So the stripped logs, you could just repeat these and they will add the variation because of this variation in colour between the edge and the middle. And these work very well as walls. And similarly for more grey stone ones, you can use the basalt. And I'm sure that there are more out there, but these are just two examples. And a quick note about when and when not to texture. Usually the more that you texture, the more run down a build looks. So texturing, especially extreme texturing, is very good for rustic builds and cottagecore builds and anything which has been around for a while. For modern builds, you generally don't texture at all. I know, I said it. No texturing. What an abomination. And for builds such as townhouses and that sort of thing, a mild bit of texturing. So yeah, just think about the purpose of your build and then think about how much texturing would be appropriate. But generally, texturing just looks good, so just texture. Now I'm just going to quickly show you guys some examples of texturing in action so you can really see how it makes a difference to your builds. So first of all, here we have this pond with the azalea tree and a path, which you guys have seen many times before because I put it in my starter video, I've posted it on my Instagram, all of that stuff. But I'm showing it off again because I'm very proud of this thing. And here we have multiple examples of texturing. The most obvious one is this path here. I've mixed together a lot of the more stony blocks, so coral and the granite and the cobblestone and the stone bricks and all of that. And I've also used some of this glow lichen, which works very well over blocks to almost add a texture to it, which is kind of mad. And it makes this path look slightly more overgrown and magical, which is the vibe I was going for. That's probably the only obvious example of texturing. However, there is one more. In this tree, you know, this is an example of texturing, using the flowering azalea leaves and the non-flowering azalea leaves. They're two blocks which are very similar in colours, which work well when mixed together. But I've also gone ahead and also textured in some oak leaves, I think these are, to add a bit more interest because it looked very boring and repetitive. And whenever you're thinking, this looks a bit dull, that's when you should start texturing, because 90% of the time it will work, and that's why I'm making a whole video on it, because it's so important. So that's pretty much it for this build. I decided not to texture the logs because of what I said earlier about over texturing. I've used a trick from goodtimeswithscar by adding fence posts to almost make roots, and it worked really well and added the interest that I was looking for without me having to texture. If we move on over to this build, I have made a time-lapse townhouse. This is why I say that acacia wood is awesome. Look how cool this looks with the deep slate and the acacia. They look so awesome together. I don't see why people hate acacia. Like diorite, I get. Diorite itself isn't very nice. Polished diorite is nice, but acacia, look at how cool this looks. This is textured. It doesn't look like it's textured from a distance away, but it is. We can see I used the cut sandstone and the sand. I didn't use normal sandstone because it was too in your face, and it actually worked really well. And again, I probably would have textured this lawn, but I did the stripes instead, and that's another example of where texturing, you don't have to texture because it's still got that interest. This also works for checkerboard floors and all of that sort of thing, because you don't want to add too much texturing next to each other. But texturing generally is a very good thing, I swear by it. It's very cool. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this. And then just ignore this. Just ignore this, it's horrible. Again, another example, I textured this bridge here, black stone, you know, the usual. And here I textured this path. An example I actually forgot to put in the video, but it created a really nice brown path with a mixture of the path blocks, coarse dirt and podzol. Yeah, I really like how this turned out. And here's an example of texturing in an interior. You can see here I've textured the floor and added depth with this birch, and then I haven't bothered texturing the ceiling because A, nobody really looks at the ceiling, and B, you don't really need to, otherwise it might be too much. And then for the walls, I've just used the stripped dark oak logs and dark oak wood to frame it, and it worked really well, and it created a interesting build that I don't think looks dull at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see behind me, I built this cute rainbow wall because I'm sure you'll have seen enough texturing for one day, so instead have rainbows and happiness, yay! So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!